Seth Apter here. I hope you're all doing well. And I, as always, appreciate you joining me. We are going to be doing a bunch of different things today. We are going to demo. I got some good stuff right here to work with. I'm doing one of those demos where I have no clue where it's going to go. I just have an idea. I have some materials that I've gathered to start, but honestly, I got no clue where I'm going. And that's always fun and exciting for me because that's, to me, the core of mixed media. This is how I often start working. I just grab a bunch of things that I think I'm going to use. I probably will use 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and then I'm off somewhere else. But today I just wanted to work on this book, but it's just the start of something. And like many things, when I start, I get busy doing something else. And when I get busy doing something else, what that basically means is that it gets put aside. So I'm back to it today. The only thing I'm thinking about this is that it's vintage-esque. You know, the papers inside, these were all made with just this kind of paper, the paper that I have underneath. I just tore it up after demos. So let's start with this concept. I just love a good tab. Yeah, so I am going to, I think you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm just going to really play. And I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to create a little hinged something with this. And then after I hinge it, I'm going to figure out how it might fit in here. And I think I want the tabs to pop up at the top. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to get rid of this excess right there. So I'm just going to go to my guillotine and chop it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get some washi or PET tape, and I'm going to hinge these together. I have this washi tape that we worked on together at some point. So I am actually going to use a piece of that. I'll add more glue, and I'm going to use that as the hinge. I'm going to hinge on the inside and the outside and leave this washi tape maybe to use later. All right, so let's get to working. So I'm not going to worry about designing these, painting them, collaging them. I'm going to just get the structure done first. So I'm going to go ahead and about halfway through the width, I'm going to place that down, and then I'm going to place this one here, and I'm just going to turn this over and hinge. Just trim that off. Of course, we're going to save this bit because that's a treasure, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. Very often when I do this, I do work on the papers first, but I'm okay with going this way. I just needed to really get started. And now I gotta trim around. All right, now, yeah, now what I'm going to be able to do if I decide to sew this in, which I might, is I'll be able to sew along the fold. And the fabric tape especially will be strong enough to hold it. And I don't know why I'm feeling like I need to curve the corner. So, when something calls to me, I just do it. I don't really question it. All right, so let's see. I'm debating whether to make it a fold out or a literal. You know what? I think I'm going to make it a center fold, so to speak. So I have my thread pre-threaded. I've already done the pamphlet stitch originally with wax linen thread that was a brown. So I think I'm just going to go in and do it with kind of a creamy wax linen thread. The wax linen thread, it's just very standard thread for bookbinding if you don't know it. The waxing, it comes waxed, but waxing any thread when you're working with paper is really helpful. It helps so that the paper doesn't tear. It helps so it goes through the layers more easily. And also when you tie it off at the end and you have to do the knot and you have to press your finger there to make it tight, the wax and the different strands of the thread hooks it together. So it actually stays really tight. Okay. When I do this, I usually put the holes in with and all. So that's what I'm going to do. And I got to do my best not to pierce through all of this. So I'm going to put it a little off center. And when I do the piercing, by the by, I close the book. Doing that and closing the spine makes it much more likely that you're actually going to go through the fold rather than through a side of the book or book cover. So there's that. Got one. And then I'm just going to kind of go around there. Oh, that's really close to the first one. And then I'm going to go there. Now you can start, if you've never done this before, the pamphlet stitch, you just need an odd number of holes. You can start from the inside or the outside. I like to start from the outside so that I get all this stuff hanging off. So I'm going to start from the inside for a second, just so I can find the hole. And now I'm going to go ahead and pierce it in there. I'm just going to make sure I leave a tail hanging out. And then I'm just going to go, you can go to the top or the bottom hole. Pamphlet stitch is easy and forgiving. And then you pull it through, you try to pull it through. You kind of tighten it, but not too taut. And then you go to the other hole, the third one, which is either the top or the bottom, depending upon what you started with. There we go. And then you pull it through. This is just hard because of the thickness of all the fabric tape and everything else that's there. Again, you pull it pretty tight. And then you go through that original center hole. And then this is the only like extra technical aspect to it. You want the two threads that are there. There should be two tails now. Once you pull it through. Some of this is also some of this paper is rusted paper, and rusted paper, it's very hard to put a needle through rusted paper. So these two threads, you definitely want them so that one of the tails is on one side of the longer thread, and then the other tail's on the other, so that when you tie it off, you encase that longer element within the knot. So it's going to be a square knot. We'll do left over right, then right over left. I don't have to hold this down because it's just going to hold because of the linen, the wax on the linen. So again, the beautiful thing about a pamphlet stitch in a simple book like this is you can do so much to it after the fact. Okay, so now we got to do something here. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of all this stuff. And I'm going to get another piece of paper. And I love the fact that it's a vintage page from a journal. So I'm excited, instead of having all the excess go on this under paper, it's going to go on this, and then I can actually use this in this. So I'm just going to like begin, like I'm just going to mess this up. So I'm going to just start with some sprays. So my go-to is often spray. It's just easy, it's quick. There's no cleanup from, there's no brushes, there's no water. And you get the benefit of the freedom of just spritzing. And it's quick. So I'm just going to hold this kind of far away so it's kind of a light spritz. And I'm going to spritz. It's getting on this paper. It's going to get on the edges of these pages as well, which I think is kind of going to be interesting. But it's going to be a quick way for me to begin to add some color and interest. And if it smudges and stuff as I turn the pages, I'm so good with that, right, guys? And then that was honey. And now I'm going to go with sunflower. These are some of my sort of go-to colors for when I'm working vintage. So first of all, with these sprays, know that you have no control. I like that. But for a lot of projects, you need some control. So if you need to have any sense of precision, don't use a spray. But when you just need sort of an organic splattering, use a spray. And the two things I can tell you in terms of using them, the first one is that, well, they're the flip side of the same thing. If you want soft and subtle, kind of like this, then you're going to hold the spray bottle really high. I literally sometimes just put newspapers on my floor, or not newspapers, I don't really have newspapers anymore, but papers on my floor, this kind of scratch paper. And then I put whatever I'm going to spray on the floor, I stand up and I hold the spray that high. And it comes down in the softest of sprays. And when you do that over and over and over again, you begin to build a level. The other thing, go the opposite direction. If you hold it really, really close, you get the splat spread, but there is no control. So this is coffee. I mean, I do like it all spotty like that, but I'm actually going in with a baby wipe and I'm going to kind of spread this. So what have I done? So I've kind of turned that into more of a painted kind of background, but it's really, really, with 3 or 4 spritzes, it's kind of interesting because it's not even, it's a little mottled. And I like that. So this is also, I'm not going to say you can get a way to get control, but this is a way to get a quick, easy background. And yeah, I love the fact that that's happening. Like that's probably going to be my favorite spot on that page. And that's one of the reasons why I don't worry about things when I do the mixed media approach, which is all I really do, because the truth is that those are the kind of things that happen, and that ends up making things so much better. I am going to go and add licorice. It's the black version. I'm just going to add a little bit of black. I'm holding it pretty high. I can't hold it too high because the dot cam is there. Let's just see what happens if I close the book and give some pressure. You know, it might mush up in a good way, it might not. Let's just find out. Yeah, and the underpaper's looking great. Yeah, got that now. I'm designing pages without trying, and whenever that can happen, that's when it's just the best. Yeah, so okay, so I went from having basically that to this. All right, so while I was thinking about putting the book together just a few minutes ago, and I used this painted washi or fabric tape, I did pull out some of this PET tape. And the PET tape is interesting because even though this is matte PET, it does have a little bit of a shine. And when I think about vintage, I don't think much of shine at all. But I think that some of this sort of sepia tone and the images would just be so gorgeous here. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to play a little bit. So I'm going to definitely use this one. And I'm going to snip. If you don't know PET tape, PET is a polyester film tape. So it's clear tape and they print over it. I just love that. So I'm going to just snip and tear. And the protective tape paper in the back really should come off quite quickly. I know I say that every time and then always struggle when I'm doing a demo, but it really does kind of come off pretty quickly. Now, I'm not really thinking about much here. I'm not like overly designing. I just know that I want this here. So I'm going to go ahead. I am going to get my glue stick and add more stick to this. And then I may do something with it to get rid of some of the shine. And let's just put it right there like that. And that's sort of the beginning of something. What it's the beginning of, I don't know. But it's definitely the beginning of something. And now that we've sort of moved into collage, let's just keep collaging a bit. So I'm thinking of going to this for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a nice contrast to the darker that you see everywhere, but also there's some shine here. So let's just go with this concept of shine. At least that's what I'm saying now. Yeah, let's blend this out a bit. I'm gonna use that as, see that overwrite? I'm gonna use that as an indication that that's where this is going to be cut off. As you can see, the whole process for me is a blend of not thinking at all and thinking but not overthinking. So I'm very conscious intuitively at this point of like there's shine, so let me get some shine, or there's some shine and I want some matte. So I thought this would be kind of a good element. And then you know what? I think I'm going to do a little repetition. I like repeating elements. So let's just go and use this somewhere else on the same page. I really don't know what this is going to look like. I'm not really sure if I'm even happy with it. And what I may end up doing is covering most of it, but let's just go with it. Because I think I want to cover a lot of this. All right, so this is, yeah, so this is the piece that I tore off a piece of art I made a long time ago. It says the word forever on it. That's kind of a little sweet for what I'm going for, but I kind of like the red dots, which are, sort of part of a plant originally. I think this one might be nice. And yeah, I could just put it on a page that doesn't have anything, but for the sake of showing you that I could take this amazing piece that I don't have much of, and I could cover almost all of it. That's kind of where I'm going with this. I like that right there. I even like some of that white. All right, let's just go for it, guys. I even like the back for a different, if I was working on a different piece. I'm using glue stick. I often use glue stick, but I almost always use it for a demo when I need to kind of work fast and move things along. I'm kind of liking the page almost as is. Some really interesting things you can see happen. Do you see how the change from the PET tape, the dark PET tape, to the light material there, that echoes right there? That was not intentional, but there's sort of a lightness to the upper half of this element I added. I love when that happens. The other thing is that word that is still showing there. I so want that to guide me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sharpen a black Stabilo all pencil. I'm just going to go ahead. I love letting the layer tell me what it needs or wants. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of continue that. Sort of my own version of that. Let's like add some. Like let's, it's sort of asking. It's just asking for that. And why not? Let's do a little bit more of that ischemic writing or faux handwriting or something like that. It's just going to add a layer of interest. So I pulled a bunch of the stamps that I thought I might want for this project. So I'm gonna ink this one up and use this one a little bit. I'm going to show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like whole. But really how I'm going to use it is just like there's some. Do you see how sort of subtle that is? That's kind of how I want it in the background. Is that clear with the light here? Might be a little hard to see. Maybe a little less hard to see when I do it on the white element. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. I just want the look of like it's peeled away. And that's what I think about old sort of vintage wallpaper. It's just been peeled away. Don't want too much of that. And I do want a little bit of a stronger element. And I think I'm going to use this. This is one of my favorite stamps. This one is Mini 41. This is one of mine. This one looks like this. And I'm just going to use it also. Yeah, like that. Do you see that? It's barely identifiable as that stamp. But it's going to add some depth and interest to this already kind of busy-ish page. One of the things I don't like is the straight line that's right there from where that element, which adds a little bit of shine. So I'm going to get rid of that. I can get rid of that in so many different ways, but I think I'm going to get rid of that using a stamp. This one is ironically very linear, but I think it might add some interest. So I'm going to ink part of it up. Yeah, and I'm going to aim it like that. And it's added a mark, again, unidentifiable as that stamp, but gives a little bit of a darker focal element that brings out the black from there. And I'm going to do one more time because I want it in threes. Let's see. Let's actually use the element that has a little bit of a circle to it. Yeah. So there's some strength on that page as well. It was feeling like it was getting a little bit blurred, and the eye always needs a place to go. And now, not directly conscious, but if you look at this, you can kind of see your eye is sort of taken around. There's that frame that was left on this piece. There's the dark around the edges. There's the word forever. It kind of just brings you around this whole piece. And then I think for the moment, I'm going to think about forever and kind of call that page done. Say thank you to you all. This is the